In this powerful episode of She Decides, we sit down with Rhea, a self-love life coach and hypnotherapist with over 25 years of experience guiding women back to their truest selves. From her healing sanctuary in Sedona, Arizona, Rhea has helped clients from all walks of life break free from the limiting belief that they're not enough. Together, we explore what it means to shed fear, judgment, and shame, and instead, rise into a life rooted in gratitude, acceptance, and radical self-love. Rhea shares how we can reconnect with our inner worth, reclaim our power, and decide who we want to be on our own terms. If you've ever felt like you were shrinking yourself to fit into someone else's mold, this conversation will remind you that your story matters, your voice matters, and you matter. Welcome to the space where She Decides. Welcome back, everybody, to our next episode of She Decides. I am your host, Stacey Swiderski, and this is Michelle, our co-host here.
Hi, everybody.
And we are so excited for our guest today. We have Rhea, who is a self-love life coach and hypnotherapist with over 25 years of experience. So this is going to be a really, really exciting episode. So let's get started. I'm going to give it to you, Michelle, because I know you have a long history.
I do.
With Rhea.
I do. So Rhea and I actually met in 2012. It's been a while.
I had no idea it was that long ago. I mean,
right.
Really.
Right. And she's just become like a very dear friend of mine. And she's very interesting. She's a lovely person. We're going to kind of dive into her before we get too far off on like our personal history with one another. But anyway, Rhea's been a big positive addition to my life, which is why I wanted her on this today.
So, I look forward to your little text with questions. I have a friend that wants to know.
Yes. Yeah, I'm always
great questions.
Yeah, I'm always like, Rhea, somebody asked me this, somebody asked me that. So yeah, it's great. So really, as Stacey mentioned, you are a certified hypnotherapist. You own your own retreat company in Sedona, which is absolutely beautiful, called Imagine Getaways. And so why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and how you became interested in life coaching and hypnotherapy?
Ooh, great question. So my experience was I came from in my childhood, I did not know it, but unconsciously I was carrying the idea of being a victim because it happened several times in my life through different scenarios. I don't need to go into all the details, but basically I was carrying around that heavy belief in my unconscious. I wasn't aware of it. So it was through the power and the beauty of hypnotherapy that I started to unpeel my layers. And literally, this is how I rescued myself from those heavy beliefs I was carrying. And so as I started realizing what came through hypnotherapy in my own training and my own learning, I was so excited about it because I got to the point where I realized anything I find from within myself, it's only information. So I can either apply it and look at it and be willing to have the courage to look at it or simply let it go. So it's powerful information. So when I started realizing and having more of an understanding of my own childhood, I got so excited about it and I wanted to share it with other people. So that was the inception of starting hypnotherapy. However, when I first started with hypnotherapy, it was more about trying to lose weight or quitting smoking or more basic hypnotherapy ideas. However, where it is right now is so much more exciting, so much juicier, I would say, because it's getting into the inner world of the negative self-talk, the negative beliefs, the critic that we have within us.
The negative ego.
Yes, exactly. And the fun little not friendly ego.
Right. We talk about that a lot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of times.
It's so friendly.
Yeah. So, you mentioned like consciousness and subconscious. So for the people who are listening who might not be familiar with those two terms, which, unless you're really in this kind of world, might not be familiar.
Question.
Yeah. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So basically we're in our conscious mind with our thoughts that are happening right here, which I want to talk more about, are negative thoughts also. However, when we go into hypnotherapy, we're going into the unconscious. So basically we have the subconscious, which might be beliefs that we have maybe from religious or cultural ideas. Those are the subconscious beliefs. The unconscious beliefs is where hypnotherapy allows you to enter, is the beliefs that we may not be aware of, that are often caused from trauma. When we're from our childhood, when something scares us, we literally, that's how amazing our minds are. We literally bury it
You
deep
just block it
within, and
off. Yeah.
that's in the unconscious. So
Mhm.
the only way I know of at this time, there may be other ways, but the main direct way is to go into hypnotherapy, to get into those unconscious beliefs, to basically free them. Because once you see them and know them, then they're in your conscious mind, and you can navigate them and change them and heal from them. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah.
So when somebody is in that state, right? How long when you are working with them, how long are they in that state for, where they're just becoming, I don't know, is it vulnerable? Are they opening up? Is all these emotions just coming out? And how long are they,
That's a
you know,
great
hypnotized
question,
or however, well, I
Stacy.
don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just blowing my mind.
Mhm.
It's so
So
cool.
basically, trance state is what we can call that. So I can give you an example. Imagine, like, Michelle, when you're driving somewhere to go to work, or Stacy, you're driving to the grocery store, somewhere familiar. Have you ever noticed sometimes we go into that place of, oh, I don't remember driving my car because it's familiar? That's called highway hypnosis. There's actually a name for it. So we literally go in and out of trance all day long. That's a version of a trance. When we go into hypnotherapy, it's a little bit deeper, but it's that same idea that we're going into our memories and beliefs, where they can dance together and they know how to navigate and how to get us somewhere.
That
So
is so
how long we're
interesting.
actually there, it's all contingent upon the person, because it's all personalized. What we're looking at, like, I do past life regressions as well. Those can be a bit longer because we're visiting other lifetimes. However, generally speaking, a session is anywhere from 2 to 3 hours. Sometimes they can go to 4.
Oh,
Just, again, it
wow.
just depends.
And sometimes repetitive as well. Like, you
Yes.
revisit.
Are they
Yeah.
sessions that yeah, wow.
Mhm.
So, I mean, because there's so many times, like if you're driving to the store or driving to the mall, and then you come out and you're like, I don't even remember pulling in. I don't remember where I parked.
That's exactly it, Stacy.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is so, wow, that's
Because
fascinating.
your unconscious knows that path. It knows that road. It knows your car by now. It knows you.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's your mind is wired that way at certain
Yes.
points, right? So
Yes.
so we kind of dipped into like a little bit about how hypnotherapy works, but why don't you walk us through like what you do to get someone into that state
Okay. Yeah, sure. So basically,
without us doing it right now?
Yeah. If you see us starting to like just fade away, like,
Stacey was like, "Are we gonna like be hypnotized?"
I kind of want to. So I'm going to like adjust my brain and really like, maybe it's not a good time for
It's
me to do this.
consensual, I promise.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
So basically, Michelle, you're asking about the induction, the
The
intro.
induction, yes, yes.
So, well, there's always time for talking, for sure, when someone comes in, because I want the person, ideally, obviously, they need to feel safe. So that's created through talking, through sharing. And there, there are benefits to talk therapy, because it allows some of that releasing, some of that to come out through the words. However, oftentimes there's kind of a mixed bag with that, because through the talking, it can keep us in the fears and the anxiety about the situation, and where we kind of make it into a thing, and then it's heavy, and then we're carrying it around. So, so after we go through the talking phase, there's that moment of, okay, it's time to go within. So basically, they're on lying down on a massage table or couch, depending on where I am, which office, and it's very relaxing. I'm just simply talking you into you, and you're letting go of the thinking mind, and you're going into your unconscious. It's very relaxing, very comforting, and suddenly you're there, and you're seeing and hearing things, and Michelle, you could speak of that. You've been there many
I've
times.
been there many times. Yes.
You have.
Yeah, I mean, Rhea, obviously you have like a very like soft voice when you're doing this. And that's, it's very easy to you
I
make,
hear it's a
you've
different
always
voice.
yeah, you've made me like very much like always feel very safe, comfortable, relaxed, and everything just kind of disappears. Like, I mean,
Oh, that's a
I've
good way
been
to put it.
I've been through, many sessions with Rhea, as we call them. Sessions.
Yeah.
And I just remember like the first time that we worked together back in 2012. And, I
That's
showed
wild.
up to her place and, there's horses running like in the pasture. And I'm like, where am I at? And I just remember when I came out of the session that I remembered what we had talked about. But while that was going on, nothing else was existing, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was totally in.
Like you were in that zone.
Yes, I was in the zone, but I knew that it was happening. But when I came out, I was like, wow, that was wild,
Have you ever
Well,
had
and
anybody where
what's
it doesn't?
interesting about it too is that we are even more aware when we're in trance, even though we're deep within. So
Mhm.
it's kind of hard to describe it, right?
It is.
Is it like a really
Yeah.
calming
Oh,
feeling?
100%. Well, yes,
Depending on what you're looking at.
depending.
Like
Yeah.
Okay.
I've had clients go back, like this one client I had, Stacy, it was pretty wild. She came in for a heart attack. And as we peeled away the layers, she just very briefly, I'll share a little bit. It was revealed that she was literally being sexually abused by her neighbor from ages about 4 till 18 when she moved out to get married. All of that had been buried. And so imagine her heart trying to navigate all that trauma that was still in her body. So
Wow.
just, I mean, it literally is like a releasing of the old baggage, et cetera, that we're carrying around.
Yeah. It's very different for each person, obviously.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Everybody has their
I've always had
Yes.
challenges.
very calming
Yes.
experiences, I think. Maybe you're
Yeah.
like, oh
Well, it
no.
depends
Like,
on it depends on what they're wanting to get from the session. Like some sessions are all about, let's feel more creativity. Let's feel more empowerment. Let's feel more self-love. It really is the intention that is
So,
said.
like
Yeah.
after the sessions, do these feelings stay with them or do they eventually kind of put them back on that shelf? Like especially if it's something that was traumatic, like the
That's
lady that you were just
that's a
sharing.
really great question because this leads into how I follow up. Because oftentimes, well, it's not just, okay, one session, I'll see you later. I often follow and work with people for years and years, depending on what they want to look at. And so that gets into how I help them is to, when they have that feeling, yes, it's wonderful. It feels great, but that's a great point, Stacy. They want to hang on to it. You want to keep that feeling, right?
that's the
So
familiarity.
that's where it gets into how I apply neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is simply it's a medical term. Basically, it means that the scientists have proven roughly 40 or 50 years ago that our brains are constantly being rewired. You mentioned the hard wiring earlier, Michelle. Our brains are constantly being rewired depending on what we focus on. So imagine it's kind of like, we all have that duality within our mind. We can look at it as fear versus love. We can look at it as negative versus positive, the devil versus the angel, any way you want to look at that. And it's almost like having two radio stations on in our head, which is very confusing, right? Or it
It
can
can be
be.
stressful.
So, yes. And so what I help them navigate is learning how first, again, to have the courage to realize they're the only one talking to themselves internally. So they're the only one that can shift that, right? To positive, to more loving, to more empowered. Again, those feelings we want to hang on to. So this is where the practice comes in. It literally is a moment by moment practice. I want to live and believe and be in my love arena. I call it the love arena or the fear arena. I want to hang out in the love arena.
I
I
would
mean,
want to be in that arena too.
Yeah, exactly.
I
exactly.
want the
Let's
fear
meet.
arena.
Who wouldn't? Yeah.
We're meeting there in our pink, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's where the practice comes in, because we, like Michelle mentioned, the ego before. The ego obviously is in the fear arena because the ego comes in when we're young as a form of protection. It wants to keep us safe. And by keeping us safe, it tries to keep us small by believing we're not good enough or we're not worthy if we keep listening to that repetition, right? And then the ego gets used, and this is where I call it the negative ego. It wants our attention. So it keeps trying to keep us there, to keep us safe. So where I really come in and support is ideally keeping the client's thoughts, feelings, and again, in that love arena. So you got to shift the negative fear-based thoughts to the love arena. And that is a moment by moment practice. And that's oftentimes where I see clients where they start getting into those new feelings, because unfortunately the fear arena is familiar because it's what we've grown up with, right?
Do
And that
people ever, does anything ever come out during this time, during a session, that they didn't remember? Even they had no idea, like they just
Oh,
totally didn't remember,
absolutely.
like not even was on a shelf, they just didn't even know it existed until.
Absolutely. And I had that experience personally when
Mhm.
I think I was in my early 40s, maybe. I don't know. Age doesn't really matter, but when I was in my hypnosis training, no, that would have been earlier than that, in my early 30s. Anyway, point being is I found out through my hypnotherapy training that I was sexually abused as a child. I had no idea, none. And I even have, a little, my stuffed animal showed up in my session. It was pink,
Yeah.
stuffed elephant showed up in my session. I did not remember it. I did not have any recollection of it. And I went over to my mom's after my session, and she showed me a picture of myself holding that pink stuffed elephant. I mean, confirmation, right? So
Mhm.
that's where I got so excited. Like we bury so much out of protection. And so this helps the opening. This is like
Wow.
opening to your funnel of truth and authenticity even.
It's true. Like, so I was going to ask one thing and now it kind of went away, probably because I was intrigued by that.
Well,
But
I was just gonna, while you're thinking of that thought, I was gonna ask, like, how do we know, or how do you know that this really happened? Do you know what I mean? Like, if they don't have remembrance until the session, like, how do you know it's just not something that's just like, I'm going to throw
you
this in there and make it up?
fabricated.
Yeah. Like, how do you know the difference? Or have you ever had that happen? I mean, I just think this is so
Well, your mind is
interesting.
very interesting
Yeah.
and
I mean,
powerful.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
wow.
Well, I mean, to your point, Stacy, I guess the best thing that I could say from all of my years of doing this is that I trust it.
Yeah.
I trust what comes up, and even if it isn't accurate, like I said earlier, then you just dismiss it and, but I honestly trust that process
Mhm.
because it's going into the unconscious.
Does it ever give people, like your patients, like an aha moment, like, oh, that's why I think this, and
Absolutely.
this, or, and it's kind of
Absolutely.
clicks. Oh, wow. That is, to me, it's just
Often.
fascinating.
Yes.
I want to do it.
It was very fascinating. Yes. I have done it a few times.
Do you ever do remote sessions?
I do.
You do? Oh, I'm going to have
Oh,
to.
yeah.
Or actually, no, I'm going to Sedona. What am I talking
Yeah,
about?
like, yeah,
Duh.
it's
Yeah.
a short plane
Remote,
ride.
Shemote. Nope. Nope.
So, we've talked about like a few things like what you've experienced and what you had like another client experience, like about a regressed memory. You and I have talked personally that a lot, like your business has significantly grown since COVID, right? Didn't
COVID
like,
was incredibly busy
yes.
for
And
a couple
so,
reasons, but yeah, yeah, yeah.
right. So, and I also, we've discussed like how so many people are kind of turning more towards different modalities for healing versus like self-talk therapy, right? So what are some of the common themes, or what do you see as common themes or the challenging topics that come up mostly with people these days?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. So, a very common theme that interestingly is it's almost because of the internet right now, we have like these terms that pop up a lot. One of them is narcissistic. I mean, every client has a narcissistic friend, cousin, uncle, or somebody.
Right. I'm sure.
There's that. Neuroplasticity is the big one. Self-love's a big one. Another one that I'm finding fascinating, because again, I've been able to compare the human. So basically what we're talking about is I'm their emotional life coach, really. We're talking about the emotional world, because the emotional world connects the physical world. And I truly believe, so to answer your question, Michelle, something that comes up a lot is this idea of they've done enough inner work, that I'm pleased to say, that they're aware of, they have this belief or this idea they're not good enough or they're not worthy. And so when they're able to, again, have the courage is such an important part of the journey, the courage to realize that they're hearing this in their mind, but they know it's not their truth. So then what do they do with that? So they come in with me, and we obviously talk about that, how to shift that. And a lot of relationship dynamics right now, because I think, you mentioned COVID. COVID, I believe, from the bigger picture, gave a lot of people time to be alone with their thoughts, to be alone with their feelings, to be alone with themselves, which allows for the big awakening that we're seeing right now, because I think we're here to wake up.
Well, and I
And what
think
does that
COVID,
mean? We're here to wake up and be more in touch with the truth of who we are, beyond what we learned as children.
yeah,
Like Michelle, you've had a lot of ideas from your childhood. We all do.
Yeah.
That we went,
yeah,
oh, this isn't me. I don't,
Right.
I don't want to live by that code of ethics any longer. Let's
Right.
do
Right.
it.
Right. I always say it was like I was programmed. Well, I was programmed as a child and then deprogrammed as an adult. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I help with the deprogramming, truly.
Yeah. Yeah. It
Because it's
was.
not the truth of who we are. And I truly believe that when we learn to navigate that shifting, that suffering is a choice. Because
I was
I
just
mean,
going to
like,
say
just
that.
like, for
Yeah,
Big
example, I had
time.
a situation just this morning where a situation didn't go as I had hoped. And I could feel that duality in my mind, fear going, oh, but I went, nope. I am so grateful
you
for
made
the
that choice.
sunshine. I'm
Right.
so grateful. I mean, and feeling it. That's how we shift, because to change our life, we need to change to higher vibrations, literally, and from an energetic standpoint.
So, with would you consider them your patients? Is that basically as a life coach? Or
Clients.
clients,
Clients
more
is
your
fair. Yeah,
clients, more
yeah,
clients.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Do you also give them advice or is it more just kind of getting them into that state and letting them kind of feel free and that, during that session? Do they look to you for advice after they really share some, maybe some really deep stories or information with you? Like, what do you do with that information once
Well,
they're in
that's a
that
really
state?
great question, because I feel the best way for me to empower someone is to help them find the wisdom from within themselves, because that's the most authentic. Of course, I share ideas, and of course, I share my experience with them. However, it's a combination.
Yeah.
Because imagine finding something from within you, because I do this one session, and Michelle, feel free to speak on this one too, where they actually get in touch with their archetypal parts inside. And I have them show up in what I call like a medicine wheel with the 4 directions. So wherever they show up is very symbolic. And I've had Jesus, Mother Mary, angels, archangels, past parents, loved ones that have died, animals that have died from the other side. Anything and everyone can show up in that inner circle
So let's
to give
talk about
advice
that.
and wisdom.
That
Yeah,
inner circle, for those who aren't familiar with the medicine wheel
yeah.
and the directions and the symbolism of the directions, because that was our first session together. Yeah, and I remember it clearly. You recorded it on an MP3 player. And I do remember who
Oh,
was
so they're
in.
recorded, so you can go back
Well,
and
at
watch
that
it too.
time, it was recorded on a little MP3 thing that you gave to me. And you had written notes as well. But I remember who showed up in each direction and in each.
Wow.
Oh, I can name them right now, but I don't
I
want to in
love
case they
it.
end up listening. So look, but so for those who aren't familiar with the medicine wheel and the symbolism of the directions, maybe throw that out there.
Yeah, well, clearly a lot of Indian tribes have lived in the Sedona area and around here. And so they actually created on the land these large circles, maybe like 12 feet by 12 feet. I I don't know if there's a precise size, but that's what I'm imagining. And you have the 4 directions, and each of them holds symbology and meaning as to where these parts show up. So that's really compelling. That's where they have the aha moment, Stacy, for sure. Because they might have a great Aunt Sue who died many years ago who shows up and has wisdom. Because I believe we have so much support and guidance. However, it's up to us to allow ourselves to connect to that. And the best way to connect to that is in the love arena. That's where our soul resides. That's where our wisdom resides. That's where our intuition resides.
How
All that fun,
far
juicy stuff that we want is in the love arena, right?
how far have you saw somebody's just mindset go back? Like at what age? Like, because that's like, you think about it, you can't remember what you did when you were 3, or maybe some people can. I can't. Like, how far can people really go back when they are in that state? Like, say if you're hypothetically 55 years old, I mean, do you ever hear people that talk about their childhood from like age 3, 4, 5 years old?
When they're in hypnosis,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Oh, that is so wild.
Absolutely. I mean, I've even had clients that have gone back into the womb because if something
Wow.
traumatic happened there, that's another whole world to navigate, right? And again, past life regressions, that's obviously beyond the womb and into other lifetimes. So there's really no time when you're in the space, if that
Time
makes
is an
sense.
illusion anyway, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's just an
Yeah.
illusion. That's right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when our first session together, when we did the medicine wheel, it was through a hypnosis, not like out on the land. So can we talk about that? Like what north, south, east, west symbolizes for those who aren't
Sure.
like familiar? Yeah.
Sure. So basically, again, they each hold symbology. So the south is symbolically so imagine you're born into the south. You're the little baby. And then you move into the east. And those are what I call like birth through ages 8 or 9 is when we are learning how to do the human dance. How? By watching our parents, watching significant others, watching our cousins, et cetera, anybody important in our life, because we come in our purity of our soul and the energy of our soul. And so we're watching going, oh, they wear pink shoes. Maybe I'll wear pink, So we're learning from all the people in our life how to do the humanness. So when we get into the East is where the sun rises, obviously. So it's symbolizing who or what's coming into support. So the East is about recognizing that we now get to make our choices of how we want to live instead of what my mom told me to be when I grow up, or my dad or my uncle. I get to now start choosing my own choices. So in choosing my own choices, I have chosen so imagine when we have a challenge in life, and this is bringing in the humanness. When we have a challenge in life, we often judge it as wrong. We get angry, we're hurting, and then we hurt someone down the rabbit hole of the humanness, right? So part of what I share is in the East, we have, as we're choosing how we want to be, we get to start choosing, oh, I may not like this challenge. I may not agree with it. However, I'm going to trust that this challenge may lead me to a new relationship, a new job, a new friendship, a new opportunity. So in the East, instead of judging our life and going into fear, again, get out of the fear arena, right? We shift and continue moving into the North. The North is where the inner wisdom resides. So often, like Mother Mary, Jesus, archangels will show up in the North, or a higher self, depending on the person again. So then from the North, when we gather the wisdom, we can move into the West being where the sun sets. We can let go of any of those beliefs or ideas. Like I was raised Catholic. I could not relate to the Catholic Church, nothing
Right.
personal to anyone. It just wasn't my way. So in my West, I let go of those beliefs. I let go of anything that's not mine so I can continue moving around into the South and be more of my authentic self.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
So it's like a whole
Yeah.
new outlook.
It
really
is.
on
Yeah.
life.
I always like how everything kind of gets married together to the medicine wheel. I really
Yeah.
do. Yeah.
And that's one session of many that I offer, but it is, to your point, Stacy, it's shifting our perception, shifting
Mhm.
even our attitude, right?
So yeah, so let's talk about that. So through your through your emotional coaching, right? And hypnotherapy, this is all part of Imagine Getaways, which is
Yes.
your, retreat company. So why don't you
Yes.
kind of tell us about why you founded that and what motivated you to create it?
Sure, sure. So, as you probably obviously both well know, Sedona is known for the retreat companies. There are many retreat companies there, which is wonderful, and they're, taking advantage of the vortex energy, et cetera. I worked with several retreat companies, and then I realized I can do what they're doing. And so I've created my own. So basically, I work with someone, I do 3 or 4 day retreats with them, or Zoom, like I mentioned earlier, Stacy, or they can come for again, they're all personalized. So we have a conversation, decide what your needs are, what you're wishing to get out of it, what your intentions are, and then I create the package for you, and then we keep marinating it and making it perfect for you.
So the average length is usually what, 3 to 4 days for your
Mhm.
retreats? Yeah.
Or if we do it by Zoom, we'll do it for like 3 months or 6 months,
Mhm.
because we meet every week the same day ideally, and then
Right.
build upon each session.
Right. Right.
So I would
Yeah.
assume then you probably have a lot of returning clients as
Yes.
well. Okay.
Yes. Michelle.
You know,
Yeah.
save
It's
it
like
right
just
here next to
yeah,
me.
sometimes it's like I'm like, "Oh, Rhea, I'm done
One of
with
my
you."
faves.
Yeah, I'm like, "I'm done. Now we can just be friends." And then I'll text her and be like,
I need a session.
so we need to revisit this." I'm like,
Yeah, I have like what I call like little reboots.
we do. I mean, it's amazing. Like again, like when we started this conversation today, I'm like, I mean, I honestly like cherish all of our conversations because
Aw.
it's not, so how's the weather in Sedona? It's like, we start out
We're
with,
going deep.
yeah, it's like, how are you doing? Oh, great. All right. So now,
No, we're not. We're done with the small talk,
we
right?
just,
Yeah,
yeah,
we're
we
gonna
just
get to
deep
business.
dive right
Yeah.
into some things.
And I
So
love the deep talk. I mean, that is so exciting to
yeah.
me.
Yeah. It's like superficial conversation. I'm past it. Right. So
Well, that really leads
Yeah.
into, I think, this question too.
yes.
So that was really
Yep.
great. So, in your opinion, how has Imagine Getaways impacted the lives of those that have attended your sessions and ongoing sessions?
Ooh, I'd say the most simplistic
And
way to say it, and I
retreats.
can go into more detail, obviously, is they have an element of hope about their life again. They get excited to realize that they can manage their thoughts and shift them. And that's the whole huge process in this, that they suddenly feel, oh, because I think when we're born, we are almost hardwired to try to control and fix and change our world outside of us to feel inner peace. I mean, it may not be a conscious thing, but it's unconscious at some point. We can't control anyone or anything outside of us. And that's a big part of what
That's right.
people learn.
Yeah.
It has to come from within. So when they finally realize, oh my God, I can do this by myself, I can literally feel more empowered, more confident, more freedom by shifting and really feeling those empowering beliefs, then they get really, really excited and they realize this is how they can manifest the life that they want.
Mhm. Yeah, I really to speak on that. It's like as being someone who has worked with Rhea several times, it's confidence. Like I really feel that
Mm.
for me
Yes.
particularly, it was like confidence and trusting my inner knowing. First of all, recognizing what that is, even, right? And then
Yes. Yes.
trusting that. Some people say trust your gut, trust your instincts. Mine
Yes.
was this is coming from somewhere, right? And I need to trust that.
Well, and I think too, just to be able to be vulnerable enough
Yes.
to go to a retreat, especially when you said you went by yourself and you
Oh,
went. I
yeah.
mean, that's
Most people
Sometimes
do.
most people
yeah.
do, yeah.
Yeah.
And to really realize too that everybody's coming with issues and nobody's perfect, right? So we all have
Exactly.
our other
Exactly.
deep
Yeah.
dark
And
issues
to add
going
what you
on.
were saying, Michelle, to trust our imagination. Because again, we live in a funny world that tells us You can't, it's just your imagination. It's just I truly believe, I taught art for many years, and I truly believe that our soul speaks through our imagination. I paint from that place. I write from that place.
I
And
was going to
so,
bring that up, that you do use art as a way to to heal some things. I mean, her paintings are amazing. And you've got stories about that, what came through your art that were
and I
healing for
paint my
yourself.
dreams as well. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
It's
That
very
to me,
interesting.
it's just,
Yes.
yeah, I am so fascinated by it.
Yeah. Well, Rhea's had like an amazing life journey. She just really truly has. So how has helping other people and creating Imagine Getaways, how has that helped you on your personal journey?
Ooh. Oh, I could go in many directions. Let's see. I'd say probably that it reminds me how amazing we all are. And how, I mean, I've often thought, wouldn't that be so cool if I could create a machine? So Stacy, you can see yourself like I see you, and Michelle, you can see yourself like I see you. Because I feel like when I'm connecting with someone, I'm connecting with their soul, not their flaws or their issues, or they're not good enough or they're not worthy. I really like that, because imagine that is the part of us that is our truth. So if we're out here or we're listening to the fear, we're not even touching into our wisdom and our beauty and our creativity and all the truth of who we are.
How much information do you gather before you have a client come to one of your retreats? Like, what do they share about themselves before, just like filling out paperwork or whatever it is? Like, what do you ask for before you
Well,
really start the
I'm,
sessions?
I mean, I am curious. Oftentimes I am curious about their religious beliefs, because I
Mhm.
want to honor, what they believe in, their health, their emotional. And again, we're going to talk a lot when we get together. However, it just gives me some understanding of where they are. And then, yeah.
So what is one of your most memorable sessions?
Probably
Ooh.
yours.
I don't know, maybe.
Oh my gosh, there's so many.
There's so many.
I mean, I can just speak generically. When
Mhm.
someone starts to get in touch, when they come in and I can tell that they're in worry mode. Imagine what we do with worrying. Oh my God. I heard recently that we have about 80,000 thoughts a day. And if they're fear-based and judgmental and we're worrying all day, you know what that does to our physical
Ugh.
body? Because our emotions are in angst and depression and wherever it takes us. And then our body has to do something with all that toxicity. So I even believe, to add another piece to this, another benefit, that what I'm talking about is preventative medicine.
Mhm.
I mean, I
Yeah.
personally don't have a regular doctor. I literally visit my inner world. And if I have toxic thoughts, I shift them, because it's like when we have toxic thoughts, it's like putting poison into our body. Then
I
our
Mhm.
was
body has to do something with that through rashes or tumors or to real extreme cancer, right?
and I was
Mhm.
going to share earlier too that this is, I would assume that a lot of people really stop maybe seeing their regular like, therapist to, visit your retreats and undergo these sessions, because I feel this is so much more holistic and
Well,
Well, it
just,
that,
is.
I
and I
mean,
appreciate you saying that, Stacy. And um, I've had psychologists, psychiatrists, regular doctors come in and to do the work, and they even tell me that they realize talk therapy is helpful to a point, but you need to go in deeper.
Right.
yeah,
Confirmation.
because I feel like sometimes at talk therapy is you're just kind of hitting surface here
Well, and you're repeating everything
over and
again,
over. Yeah.
sharing my
Yes.
own experiences.
Right,
I'm
right. And
like,
then
Yeah.
reminding yourself of all the
yeah,
negative stuff. And
you
then
go
it's just
back 2
like,
weeks
yeah.
later, and the first question is, so how have the last 2 weeks been? And then
And
you're
so then it's
revisiting
kind of like
everything.
what I was talking about earlier, then it makes it into a thing and it becomes heavy. And then we go, oh my God, that really is happening. And the
Mhm.
fear and all of that keeps coming back in. So that's the furthest thing to get into your love arena, which is where we can heal our body, where we can heal, because it comes down to working with the mind. And it's interesting being in Sedona. A lot of people come, they say, I want to get in touch with my guides. I want to get in touch with my higher self. I want to get in touch with my wisdom, which is great. That's all beautiful. And my feeling is we need to navigate the humanness to open up to the spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Complete. Yeah.
Yeah.
Complete
Yep.
sense. Wow.
So it's almost like we have to do that first and then open up to the soulful wisdom and all the fun stuff.
Right.
So what would somebody experience that is traveling for a retreat? You said it's about 3 days or so,
or
like,
more.
Where do they, and I'm really like, this is basic like level because I've never done anything like this. Now I want to. Where do they stay? Like where does this take place? Like kind of like all the
So,
the
so
prep
I can
for it,
I can speak
preparation.
from previous clients I work with who've done 3 and 4 days. Oftentimes, you always have a choice where you stay, but oftentimes there are some really sweet Airbnbs in Old Town Cottonwood, which is basically 10 minutes from me.
Okay.
I'm right in the middle of Cottonwood and Sedona, about 10 minutes from each one.
Okay.
So you have the option of staying in Sedona, obviously, and there's Airbnbs and hotels, and I can help you with that, creating that, or in Old Town Cottonwood. Old Town Cottonwood, Michelle, you've been to Birkin.
Oh yeah, I love it. Yeah,
For
there's like a
wonderful
great
restaurants
winery.
and
Oh,
shops
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
a great winery. Sounds great.
There's a great winery owned by Maynard from Tool, the band Tool.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah,
it's
he
very
has
cool. We go, yeah.
incredible place. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. So yeah, Old Town Cottonwood is very cool, or Sedona. Yeah. So so really Airbnbs, you have contacts of people who
Yeah.
have that. Yeah. And then through conversation, you can just kind of design a retreat that fits what the person's looking for.
Or hotel, motel. Again, some people are on timeshares and whatever. It's all personalized.
Mm-hmm. Very
So
personalized.
then we do an opening on the land, and I would personalize it for the person. If you're coming, Stacy.
Yeah, this is
Stacy would love it. We were talking
yeah,
about this
that would be
earlier
fun.
before we tapped in with you, and I'm like, Stacy would have a great
Oh
time.
my gosh.
So fun.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, that'd be a wild ride. What advice would you give to someone looking to embark on their own journey of self-discovery and creativity?
Ooh, that's a great question too.
So basically me.
I think the first thing is, if I was going to work with someone personally, I would want to know how they live their life. Because are they talking about it or are they living it? And I think it's so important to actually be living, because I truly, truly, and Michelle, you can testify to this. This is how I rescued myself from my negative ego that had such a grasp on me. I mean, I was in so much fear and I was self-sabotaging. I was doing all the things that are not going to allow me to create the life that I want. So, yeah.
And really, it's like, are you going to take, because you had asked earlier, like, does she help them? How does she take the information and
Like, what do you do
move
with
forward?
it? Yeah.
Right. So there's a lot of times where, the tools are given to the individual and it's up to them what they do with it. I have been through quite a few retreats in Sedona, and not everything that I learn becomes applicable, but there's a lot of things that have, right? It's like what
Sure.
fits in with my life. And again, it's something you and I talk about. It's something that I think about every day, is like, we have the ability to create the life we want.
Well, I was just going to say kind of self-awareness too.
100%,
Yeah.
so
Absolutely.
yeah. So it's, it's a practice. Everything is a practice.
Yes.
So we talked a little bit about hypnotherapy. We talked a little bit about Imagine Getaways. We talked a little bit about your art. I mean, look at, you're like amazing, right? All these things. But there's also
Thank you.
another thing we can add, which is that you are an author and you have your second book coming out.
So impressive.
So, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So my book is called Plunge into Self-Love, LUV, love. And it is a culmination. It's a variety of client stories, my personal stories, and information and advice that I suggest to create a practice of finding and feeling more self-love. That's the shortest version. The launch date is what is today? Is that a week from today?
Oh,
April
exciting.
30th, and I'm so excited about it. Yeah.
And what is your first book? What is the title of your first book?
My first book is more of like a memoir. It's called It's All About Me Realizing I Am Enough, because that's when I was starting to correlate. So many people have this unconscious, or it's becoming more conscious belief that they're not good enough or they're not worthy. And that's what keeps them self-sabotaging over and over and over. And so my first book is how my life's journey and how I was literally guided to do hypnotherapy.
And the
I was
title of it?
teaching, I was literally, I was put in a car in San Diego and driven to Sedona. And I said, "What's Sedona?"
Yeah.
I didn't even know what it was.
Right.
Unlike Michelle, who's been like Miss Sedona Queen.
Yeah, over here.
Right. So the first book was titled what? Because I always love the title of it, but I'm going to let you say it.
It's All About Me Realizing I Am Enough.
Aw,
Perfect.
that's
And then
sweet.
so the second book that's actually coming out, I've already read it. It's amazing.
Yes.
And I was able to like give her my
So would you get a little sneak peek?
I did. I got a sneak peek before
Your
I think before
testimonial's on the back cover, by the way.
Oh, is it? Oh,
Yeah.
good. All right, perfect.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah,
So,
I want to share it.
Yeah, great. So like it's a really great book. It's an easy read, really. That was the one thing that I kept saying to Rhea was it's a really easy read. It's not heavy.
Well, I wanted to
It's
keep
just
it
like
simple, but yet like,
yeah.
oh yeah, the aha moments again.
Right. So aside from your own books, what books do you ever like refer back to or refer people to? Are there any that are your favorite? Because
Yeah.
I have my own list.
Or podcasts,
Yeah,
too.
or podcasts,
Yeah.
of course, because we're on here.
Right.
Yeah, I love the name She Decides, by the way. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I
Yeah,
like
we love
it a
it.
lot.
Thanks.
Think of empowerment, right?
Exactly.
It's all about
Um,
empowerment. Yes.
So I'm very I get very excited about listening to Joe Dispenza's work. Carl Jung is one of my favorites as far as like the worrying and how to get out of that and what a waste of time and energy it is. The confirmation of the neuroplasticity. I like Dolores Cannon, although she has passed, but I think her daughter's carrying on her work. Of course, my book.
Yeah.
Now, are your
Yeah.
books available on Amazon? Are they on your
Yes.
website? Okay.
Yes, on Amazon.
And
Yeah.
Amazon. Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah.
I want to.
And we'll put the links and everything like in the podcast
Yeah,
to like
definitely.
imagine getaways
Okay.
into your book and all of that sort
Yeah,
of
for
thing.
sure.
Great, great.
So I think that's we kind of covered a lot of
I mean, I could learn about this all
right.
day.
Is there
This
anything
is-
that you think that we didn't
Yeah, that would.
talk about that you think would be very important to tell the listeners about if they were going on a spiritual journey, an emotional healing journey that
wanna
maybe
come
we didn't
visit
talk
you.
about? Yeah.
Yeah. I think the thing that still surprises me is when I see a client walk in and I just look at them and they look so caught up in their thoughts and their worries and I just go, oh my God. So it excites me so much to want to just really, first of all, allow them to realize who they really are and the truth of who they are, and to help them get out of that, because it's like having an anchor around your ankle,
Yeah. See, they're
holding you
carrying
down.
so much, like
Yeah.
in your
And
mind.
so
and
I think
ugh.
that's the question that I find most intriguing is why we are so critical of ourselves. And first recognizing, again, having that courage, recognizing it and realizing they don't have to be trapped in that world, because I truly, truly believe that is the inception of suicide. And suicide rates are up right now.
Right. I was going to say.
With a
Yeah.
lot of the young men and it just, so I have this part of me that wants just to bring hope and some realization that you don't have to live in that world and all that pain and suffering any longer.
Yeah, just to kind of let it go. I mean, there are a lot of people
Yes.
carrying a ton of baggage with them, and it's
But
yeah.
that's if they keep believing that. I mean, what they really want away from is that negative ego.
Right.
Because it's getting used to that attention, and we could talk all day about the negative ego.
Oh yeah, and we have, I think. Yeah,
Yeah.
like certain points of our friendship, it's like, oh wow, look how much time.
Well, you
still
think about
talking
it
about
too.
Not
that.
like how's the weather? It's how's your
Yeah.
ego today?
Right.
Exactly.
So many people like to be, not that they like it or they enjoy it, but are just negative people. I think they just carry around such a burden a lot of times, and maybe they don't even
Well, see, and
realize that
that's
it's just
it,
who they've
though.
become,
Mhm.
and it's just a habit. And then,
Yeah.
what is the youngest client you've ever had?
Oh, that's a good one.
Let's see. I
I was just
think
thinking that when she had mentioned suicide rates, because they're so high and at a young age too.
13. My son is now 25, but when he was younger, I worked with several of his friends. I think the youngest was 13.
Wow. Okay.
Because
Yeah.
they're very, I mean, you mentioned being vulnerable before, Stacy. They're just open, so they go in pretty darn easily.
Well, I
Right.
just think now too, with social media now and just the influence that's out there. I mean, it's something that
Yes.
we've never experienced growing up, and I just think it's so heavy now with
Yeah,
these
for
younger,
sure.
the younger generation. It's just
Yeah.
pretty wild. So it's they're constantly under a microscope, I feel. I
Yeah.
mean,
And you
it's
have
just
to
Or even
feel
comparing. I think how it takes them out, and then they're comparing. They have to look this thin, this
the
tall, this.
insecurities, the judgment,
Yeah.
and then the mean people out there. It's just it's
And then guess
different
what? No
than
one
what
is, they're not even in their own body energetically. So that's
no,
another cool
they can't even
piece
be themselves.
about, I want to mention this too, Michelle. You asked if there's anything else. Imagine the power of now. Eckhart Tolle is another one that I like, because when we're literally in our body, we feel more energized instead of we're out here. And it really, really helps with the health of our body to
right.
be in our body. So there's so many benefits to this, truly.
I just think that this would be an amazing
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
replacement for therapy. I really do. This is crazy. Yeah, this
Yeah.
is. I can't wait.
So you have to feel on a more personal level, like when you work with a client and you see them, just like you said, when they walk in and they're like, oh, so heavy and like, ugh. And then you see the transformation that happens. You have to feel very like
Excited.
yeah, yeah, I would think so.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I really don't even consider this work.
Right.
I consider I mean, I truly, truly believe with my heart and soul that I was brought here to do this.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like work. Like, I have some of my friends who are starting to retire, and I'm thinking, that's not even a word
You're
that
like,
comes out of my
no.
mouth.
Yeah.
Except right now.
Yeah. So Stacy
We've
and I
talked
have
about
had
this
this
before.
same exact
I mean, I want to
conversation
keep
about
doing
ourselves.
this. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. We've had the same conversation about our careers and ourselves. And I'm like, I don't ever see myself retiring and like going to happy hour.
No.
Exactly.
You know,
Or
like,
going golfing.
Right.
no, that's not going to happen. No. But I mean, as someone who has worked with you, like I have to just tell you that you truly have a gift. I mean, you
Aw,
really do.
thank you.
So yeah, you do.
Can I give you a sweet little story that might explain hypnosis even further?
Yes.
Kind of a fun one. So a friend of mine went and stayed with an Indian tribe in Colorado. And I wish I knew the name of the Indian tribe or which part, I don't know. But anyway, when she was there, they have an annual event that is similar to like our marathon every year. However, this event is called Beat the 70-Year-Old Men, meaning that notoriously every year, a 70-year-old man wins the race because they believe we only get better with time. Imagine having that belief. I believe that when we're in touch with our love arena, when we're really practicing this and feeling empowered, feeling gratitude, feeling all that we are truthfully, that we get better like wine. And that's my intention. And I'm going to live by it.
Yes, I love
Age
that.
like fine
Rhea.
wine, right? Isn't
Yes,
that what
I
they
love
say?
that. I love that.
And I love wine, as we know, Michelle.
Yes,
Yes.
yeah, for sure.
So
So
when you come here, we can go to the wineries.
yeah, there are
Nothing but
several. Yes. Never several. Yes.
I'm speaking to you too, Michelle.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I know.
this is going to be this is going to be a friend trip
together.
Yes. Yeah, we're
I
definitely
would love it.
yeah.
All right. So now we're going to do something a little fun to close out our time together. Okay. So it's kind of like a this or that question.
Oh, okay.
Of your preferences. So like, just like what you like. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, really nothing to do with the whole.
No, it's just a little way to like close things out and kind of.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
You want me to go first? I'll go. We'll and then we'll do every other. Okay.
I think I know the answers to all these, by the way.
That's the fun part. You know, this is why I really love doing these with the.
Well, if I get confused, I'll ask you.
Yeah.
No,
yes.
It's literally you are choosing one or the other. So it's this or that. I'll shoot with the first one. So we're talking about jewelry now. So do you prefer gold or silver?
Silver.
Are you a morning person or a night owl?
Morning.
Morning.
Beach vacation or mountain getaway?
Ooh. Can I have both?
Right.
Chocolate or cheese board?
Cheese board.
Bubble bath or a hot shower?
Ooh, it depends on time, but if I have all the time in the world, a bubble bath.
Read a book or watch a movie?
Ooh. I like both.
Yeah.
Oh. And
It's a mood thing.
Yeah. It is a mood thing, right?
Yeah.
And the last one is anchored in the now or creating from the future. So where does your power live? In the presence of in the vision?
Ooh.
That makes you think.
It does.
Yeah. Anchored in now or creating from the future.
Well, given what I was talking about, I think I'm creating from the now. However, I do get excited about the future. So probably the present. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And so that's it for this.
I got one wrong.
But did you?
Which one?
The one I got wrong was chocolate or cheese board. I thought for sure.
I
thought for sure you were going to say chocolate. Yeah.
I'm a savory, salty girl.
Yeah, I got that wrong. Well, I guess I don't know you as well as I thought I did.
And I don't know you other than from today, but I thought for sure you were going to say mountain getaway.
Really?
She lives in the mountains. Though,
yeah.
So like,
yeah.
You know, the beach is a little better.
Yeah. But that is a tough one. I'll take both too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, this has been fun.
It has been. I've enjoyed it. Thank you.
So is there anything you'd like to add before we say our farewells?
Be kind to yourself. Always, always, always.
Yeah, absolutely. And can you share also, it'll be on the link, but can you share the name of your website or the best way to contact you? Email, phone number, website. You can share that.
My website is Imagine Getaways, which is plural, imaginegetaways.com. And you can text me at 928-204-0878. And there's info on my website, obviously, too.
Great.
I love that. It was like, you can text me.
Yes.
That's like, I wasn't expecting that. I'm like, that's instant answer right there. I like that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your morning because it is kind of morning in Arizona, right?
Yeah.
So thank you for the invite. Of course. I was like, when Stacy and I were talking about this originally, I'm like, I've got some really cool people. And you were in the top. You were in my top of my list. So like, So
I think
after
Stacey,
we go I appreciate your appreciation of Michelle. It tells me a lot about you.
Well, thank you.
Truly.
Thank you, Ashley.